Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Sustainability Strategy Reynaers Act. My name is Rachel van den Bos and I work here at the Reynaers Group as a brand and content marketing manager. And today we will be looking at the second pillar, sustainable buildings. I have Danny Gijsels here with me, our expert, who will help me in explaining this all to you today. So first, let's have a quick recap of the Reynaers Act. As you saw in episode 1, our Reynaers Act consists of 4 large pillars that will be discussed in an episode for you. So today we are talking about sustainable buildings. The other episodes will be treating how we can develop circular products, how we can reduce our ecological footprint, and how we can be a more caring company. So if we look at sustainable buildings within our general strategy, we can see that as Reynaers Group we want to be a caring company, having the right products in the right designs, and of course focus on sustainable operations using low carbon sourcing and a good end-of-life optimization. But today we will be speaking about the 2 yellow blocks in this strategy. So how can we inspire our business partners, but also how can we contribute to those sustainable buildings? So before we go into the fact of the day, please let me introduce our expert here today. This is Danny Gijsels. Hi Danny.
Hi.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Danny Gijsels. I'm engineering manager at Reynaers. I'm working for about more than 20 years at Reynaers. Within our department, we deliver engineering and certification services within the Reynaers Group. And a topic which we see getting more and more importance in the last year is everything related to sustainability.
Okay, and how is your opinion about sustainability in your professional and your personal life?
In professional life, I saw already 20 years ago that sustainability was already an important topic at Reynaers, but then mostly focused on energy performance, U values, insulation values of our systems, which led to lowering the energy usage of a building, where we see in the last years that not only thermal insulation energy performance is getting more and more important, but also the usage of materials. So using materials which require less energy to produce them and materials which are more environmental friendly. If I would look at myself, I would not call myself a green guy, of a typical green guy, but within my personal life I try to limit waste as much as possible, and also sorting waste, I think the most logical things.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that quick introduction, Danny. Then maybe let's have a look at the quote of the day. So this one is from the World Green Building Council. It states that in 2019, buildings all over the world consumed 35% of our global energy consumption and 55% of our global electricity use. So if we look at this in a bit more detail, at this graph, we can see that compared to other sectors, building has quite a vast majority in energy consumption. And if we look at that 35% that we have, most of it is used by residential buildings, so 22%. So these are the facts. How do you think as Reynaers we can make an impact on this?
I think we can make an impact on this by developing and certifying sustainable solutions. But also next to that, delivering the tools to our partners, our fabricators, our customers, to help them in choosing the right solutions. And next to that, also guiding our partners in a holistic approach when designing a building, that they really take into account all different facts.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, offering the right products and services will make sure that we can decrease this energy consumption, and that means less energy consumption, less electrical bills, and less CO2,
yes.
Of course. Okay, so then maybe let's go a bit more in depth to the actual acts that we are going to take as a Reynaers Group. The first one discusses expanding certification on thermal performance. We see here that there are 2 labels, 2 certificates that can be used here. Could you explain a bit more about them?
Yes, of course. We have the both labels, Passive House certification and the Minergie label. Both are in fact building labels to optimize the energy usage of a building, to certify the energy level of a building, taking into account all different factors such as thermal insulation, comfort of people, natural ventilation. So they're really holistic approaches. But next to that, both systems have the option to certify components. And this means that if a component has been certified, it means that the component is really suited to be used in passive house or Minergie buildings, which does not mean that in reality, if you have a building which has to be Minergie or passive house certified, that it cannot be realized with non-certified components.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at the details. For instance, for the Passive House Institute, could you give a bit more information on the different product groups for Reynaers Aluminium?
Yes, at this moment we have Passive House component certification on Masterline 10, on Masterline 8 panel doors, and on very recently also obtained a certificate on Conceptual 50. And in the next phase we are working on the Masterline 10 doors to be certified as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, I don't see any sliding doors included in this picture. Is there a specific reason for this?
Yes, that's correct. We have done an analysis what would be necessary to reach the Passive House certification. But since the Passive House certification has really specific rules on certain topics, mainly on condensation, we saw that it was not really appropriate to develop a sliding door which could reach the Passive House certificate, because it would mean that we need a lot of plastic materials, which are then a little bit in conflict with our other sustainability goals. But in reality, this does not mean that with our non-certified sliding doors, we cannot reach Passive House level. So we really, in practice, in reality, Passive Houses can be realized with our sliding doors. That's no problem.
Okay, that's good news. Well, we have the same slide for Minergie. Mm-hmm. Could you give us a little bit more information on the products here?
Yes. Currently, we have different systems, mainly Masterline 8 and Concept System 86, Concept System 77. We have for doors, we have Concept System 86, and then the CP155 and Highfinity, the older version of Highfinity. You have seen that there is an update in the Minergie rules, which will be in place starting from 2023, and there we have opted to update our certificates only for the systems which we think are the systems for the future, such as Masterline, Highfinity, a new version of Highfinity, and then certainly the Master Patio. So we will not renew the older systems.
Okay, so that's the reason why some of the older systems have a strike through here.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the second act, which mentions integrating sustainability data in our digital tools. Well, that raises two questions. Which digital tools are we talking about, and what's the plan here?
Firstly, we have BIM. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling or Building Information Management, depending how you define it. Building Information Management, it means that you add to the data of your different systems, that you add data which gives not only visual aspects like you see it here. This is really the visual part, to design a building and to see, okay, how does a building look like? Are there collisions between different materials, different elements being used into a model? But the information is getting more and more importance. Information really to calculate everything related to a building. It can be masses, it can be volumes, but also when looking to sustainability, to calculate the sustainability of a building. And there we see that in BIM there's not too much data yet to really calculate if a building is sustainable, yes or no. And this is our goal, is to integrate sustainability data about the materials which are into our systems, to really assist designers of a building to evaluate different options, different solutions, and to see, okay, which one is the more sustainable one. And this is really our goal, to integrate this data into the BIM model. And then next to that, we are also thinking about a material passport, which is also a passport containing the different data of sustainability data, but not only sustainability data, also thermal insulation, really data about our systems. But this is still being into discussion.
Okay, well, that sounds very promising. And that brings us to the final act of today within this pillar, that's guiding our partners towards a holistic sustainability approach. Can you explain us a bit more in detail what is meant by this holistic approach?
Certainly. If I already mentioned in the beginning that the passive house Minergie certification systems, they are really also already thinking about the holistic approach, so taking into account what you can see here, solar gains, free solar energy, ventilation, natural ventilation by using openable windows into a building, heating systems, everything has to work together. So it's not components which are acting differently or separately in a building, but they all work together. You have your windows letting the energy coming in, but at the same time you have your heating to heat up your building. So it's really the complete package which is important. And here we really want to educate and train our partners how they can contribute with our solutions to sustainable buildings in a holistic approach. So if they need to offer systems for sustainable buildings and a holistic approach, we can teach them how to offer systems or which systems they can offer. And next to that, we see more and more importance to LEED and BREEAM buildings. LEED and BREEAM are also certification systems on building levels, but also taking into account the global picture, so a holistic approach.
Okay, yeah, well, we see the importance of this also from a marketing standpoint. Good to know maybe that these brochures of LEED and BREEAM are being put in a new visual identity, so that you have a good fresh brochure to deliver to your customers, as we see that this is becoming very important in the general sector. We see that we have many examples throughout Europe, that we have them in Brussels, that we have Jardin de Loup in France, and also BREEAM in Warsaw. So I think it's very important that we do not forget these two certifications. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode, Danny. Thank you for your expertise today.
You're welcome.
And we'd like to thank you for watching. We hope you join us in the next episode on the next pillar. And thanks again for your attention.